Hi guys, it's Nija Sym, and this is Create Yourself Podcast. I hope everyone is doing well today. So, what are we talking about today? Can I just say this? Having a podcast is like having free therapy. I mean, maybe you shouldn't use your podcasting platform as a therapy session, but that's what we're gonna do today, right? And I just want to preface this episode by saying I am always trying to speak from my heart. I want to be authentic. I want to share my truth. And so if anything I ever say is triggering or unpleasant, understand I'm simply sharing my truth, and this does not have to be your perspective. This does not have to be whatever, okay? And I have to preface the episode by saying that because in today's episode, I want to talk about how you have to kill the people pleaser that is within you. Everybody has a people pleaser within them. Everybody wants everyone to love them. And the sad fact is, or maybe it's not sad, maybe it's just reality, but everyone will not like you. Everyone will not F with you. Everyone will not think you're a good person. Even if you feel like you are maneuvering with integrity, with love, even if you are just trying to be honest and true to yourself, some people don't like that. And that's okay. I think what is most important is that you are authentic and true to yourself, first and foremost. Okay, so like I said, in today's episode, we are going to talk about how it is not your responsibility to make people happy. And it is not your responsibility to make sure that people have a positive perception of you, and so, yeah, we're gonna vibe. We're gonna go with it today. And I hope that this message will resonate with anybody who, like me, has struggled with, again, more transparency. So let's not judge here, right? I just want to be authentic. I want to be true. I want to use my throat chakra to just be real. Okay. So I have noticed that, I have a fear of getting close to people. I have a fear with getting close to females in particular. And also sometimes I have a fear with, in romantic partnerships, I have a fear with getting too close. And the reason why I have this fear is because I will say used to, I'm putting it in the past tense because I've noticed this about myself. I used to have a fear of disappointing people. I used to have a fear of, are they going to think I'm nice enough? Are they going to think this? Are they going to think that? You know what I mean? And I feel like growing up as well, I kind of have always been groomed to be the nice girl, the nice kid, right? Out of all my siblings, growing up, I feel like people noticed or could tell I was the nice daughter, the nice sister, the nice friend, the good girl, right? And I really overly identified with that to the point where I would bypass my intuition and how I feel and the energy that I get just for the sake of being nice to people, just for the sake of trying to be good to people, just for the sake of, I don't want them to think I'm mean. I don't want them to think I'm bad. I don't want them to think I'm hard to deal with or whatever, right? So this is my upbringing or my programming, my conditioning in my childhood growing up, right? I was a middle child. And so I felt like my role in my family was to kind of be the glue, keep everyone happy, keep the energy high vibe, keep, when there's chaos in the household and my mom is arguing with my siblings, or not in like a bad way, right? Like I had a really great upbringing. I love my mom, love my sisters, everything like that. But I'm just saying, I did identify with the role of being the good girl, being the good sister, being the goody, right? Growing up, my mom, there was like a time where like she was like had a period of like dating, and then like she got remarried, and in this period of like meeting prospects or whatever, right, my sisters would always kind of, like have attitudes towards the guys, or just kind of be mouthy, or just whatever, just expressing themselves, being genuine and authentic with the fact that they didn't like somebody or whatever, right? And I would always be the person who, even if I got the feeling, oh, this person is not really a good person, I would still be nice to them. I was a pushover. I would still, try and be the good girl. Saying all this to say, this is where my conditioning comes from, of wanting to people please, okay? And so let's fast forward now into my adulthood. I feel like, and I've noticed a pattern in we'll start with like friendships, right? In my relationships, where I feel like sometimes being in friendships feels a little bit burdensome. And I think it feels a little burdensome because maybe sometimes I find it hard to create clear boundaries. And maybe you will resonate or identify with this part about how, because you want to be so nice, because you want to be so good, because you want everyone to think, oh, Nija's a good person, Nija's a good friend, Nija's a good listener, like because you're just groomed to make everyone feel comfortable. I think that's really what it is. You don't want people to feel uncomfortable in your presence, right? Because you can sense it, you can feel it. I'm an empath, and I think all humans are empathic, though we can, be desensitized or programmed or whatever, right? And so we will shut off these feelings, the sensitivities. But when you're tuned in, tapped in, and you walk into a room and the energy is off, you can feel that, right? Or when there's about to be an argument and you're in the midst of people, having a conversation and it gets heated, like you can feel that. You can feel the energy in the room, right? And I think this was a mechanism, again, I cultivated growing up because I felt like it was attached to my security and how I felt safe. If I can make sure everyone in my presence was happy, if I can make sure everyone in my presence is, chipper, if I can make sure if my friend has an attitude, or if my sister has an attitude, but I'm just still being positive and I'm still being nice, this is my way of saving myself. Because energetically, if I'm picking up the energy and it feels chaotic and it feels like bad, I'm feeling that. It doesn't make me feel good. So my defense mechanism is be the good girl, be the nice girl, make sure everyone's happy, make sure everyone's comfortable. And in doing so, sometimes, going back to that boundary thing, you will let people cross your boundaries, right? Sometimes you'll feel energetically depleted, like you need time to yourself to recharge. That is like me all the time. And I'm working on it, but like I feel like I always need time to myself to recharge. And it's something that my friends, it's something that everyone doesn't understand that, right? And so, but you have to tell people that this is a need or a necessity for you. Like, I need time to myself to recharge, to get my headspace right. And when I'm good to go, I'll be back, and I still love you. Don't take it personally. Like, I'm just dealing with me. I have to deal with me so that I can be good to you, right? And so, saying all that to say, I noticed that in my friendships, because I never set clear boundaries, because I never said, okay, I need to take a step back so I can focus on me, like however long that needs to be. It doesn't even have to be long. Like maybe I need a day, maybe I need a week, right? But because I never verbalized or vocalized this necessity, that I have to recharge, I notice that sometimes it can offend. It can offend. I've noticed in the past it can offend like friends that I've had in the past where they're like, Nija, you can't just drop off the face of the planet. You know, like, you're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to be there for me, right? And so in always feeling like I needed to be this person, I felt like I also, in a way, sometimes was abandoning myself and abandoning my own needs, right? It's like if you always have a friend that needs you, needs to call you, needs to talk to you, needs to vent to you, needs to tell you what's going on in their world, needs to tell you that they're having a fabulous day, right? Just needs to give you update, and you never really have time to yourself. I feel like that can be very energetically draining. And I feel like sometimes if you don't let that boundary be known, and sometimes boundary sounds like a bad word, like, you know, boundary, it's like a barricade, like, stay away from me, I have a boundary. But it's like, no, boundaries can be healthy. I feel like they should be healthy, right? Boundaries are how we protect ourselves. If we are always an open portal, or just like open to any and everything, open to any and everyone, of course, your cup is going to run out. Of course, you're going to be drained. Of course, you're going to feel depleted. So it's no wonder that when you hang out with certain people, you don't have the energy to shine your light because you feel depleted. You didn't take the time to recharge and spend time with yourself. So anyhow, this episode is about, you know, how everyone is not going to like you when you are being true and authentic. Okay? So I noticed that when I started speaking my truth, when I started like sharing my boundaries, when I started vocalizing how someone made me feel or how a situation made me feel, you know, like, it turned me into the bad guy. Because for once, they're like, oh, Nija has boundaries. I don't really like that. I don't think I like that. I like being able to dump on her whenever I want. I like being able to call her with all my bullshit and shenanigans. She doesn't want to hear it anymore? She's a bad person. You know, like, this really, it really started to play a role with how I saw myself. You know, like, I feel like you're in a good place in consciousness when, if someone tells you, like, you're a piece of shit, you're a bad person, instead of deflecting and being like, oh my God, no, I'm not. You're a bad person. You can't think this about me. You can't say that, you know, like, instead of doing that, like, I'm the kind of person who will really take a step back and, like, be introspective. Like, okay, I can take this with a grain of salt. Am I a bad person? Am I being a bad friend? Am I, you know what I mean? Like, I really am here on this earth mission to evolve as a soul, right? Like, I'm here to do the work. And so if somebody tells me, you know, they think I'm a bad person, regardless if it's true or not, because again, they could be speaking from projections and past hurts and past pains that are being re-triggered through me speaking my boundaries. But nevertheless, I'm still going to investigate, right? I'm not going to take your word for it and say, you're right, I'm a bad person. But I am going to, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna ask my angels, guides, and helpers, you know, like, if I do have this flaw, if I do have this character trait, you know, like, highlight it within me, show me, so that I can work on myself. Because like I said, I'm here for this work. I'm here to evolve as a soul. But that doesn't mean that I'm here to kiss everyone's buttocks, right? I'm not here to people please, okay? Iincarnated, and again, I'm on my soapbox right now. This podcast is free therapy today, but I hope it's therapeutic to you as well, because maybe you feel the same way. But I incarnated into this human vessel so that I could evolve as a soul. And it's not always going to be clean. It's not always going to be pretty, but I am here to do the work, right? And so I'm just seeing all these relationships in my life as like a mirror. And with every person that I meet, it's like uncovering or unveiling a new aspect about myself. We are all mirrors of each other, right? And so if I have a friend and, they're triggered by something that I do, or I'm triggered by something that they do, I am conscious enough to know that we are all reflections of each other. So what irritates you about me is just highlighting something maybe within you or maybe within me. Okay? I'm all about that unity consciousness, okay? That oneness consciousness. We are all one. We are all fragments of the divine, okay? We are all of one source, okay? We're just fragments of source, of God. And so trying to live this way and, be less judgmental of other people, because anytime you judge other people, this is just you actually judging yourself. Anytime we judge anything about someone else, understand that this is just you subconsciously judging yourself, you subconsciously judging a fragment of yourself that is separate from you because you believe in separateness, okay, instead of oneness. Where are we going with this? I'm saying all this to say you can't be afraid to be who you are and worry if it's going to upset somebody or make them disappointed in you or make them hate you or make them think you're a bad person. Like, as long as you can sleep with yourself at the end of the day, that is what really matters. I feel like it's a heavy burden to live up to the expectation of other people, because you're never going to get it right if you're living for the expectations of other people, right? Like, you can work on being a good friend by, asking people. Communication is key, asking people, what is it that you expect from me? What is it that you need from me as your friend? What is it? You know what I mean? I feel like the times where my friendships or relationships went south or went the most sour was when there was no clear communication. Communication is so important. I have lost many friends because of a lack of communication, or someone was not willing to communicate, whether it was me or whether it was the other person, So communication is extremely important. And more than communication, understanding is important, being willing to see things from other people's perspective and not just your own perspective, right? Because we can villainize and demonize everybody, but if you don't understand why they feel the way that they feel, why they think the way that they think, like, you weren't with them in their upbringing. You weren't with them. I see a yellow butterfly as I'm saying this. How beautiful. You weren't with them, in their upbringing when they're, getting yelled at by their fathers, and so they have a complex. You're not with them when they got embarrassed in school and now they forever are carrying around this shame or burden, you weren't there with people in their upbringing. And even if you were there, don't assume that you know why people are the way that they are. And because of this, we have to have compassion for people. And we just have to try and be more understanding, right? And you also have to have compassion and understanding for yourself. And you also have to know your own needs, right? So going back to how I have a fear of friendships, because I don't want to disappoint people. And I've noticed that in the past, I think when I've been burned the most in friendships or relationships, it's because they had this unspoken expectation of who I'm supposed to be for them in their life. And if I don't live up to that expectation of who they expect me to be in their life, I'm a bad person. Meanwhile, in my head, I think I'm just protecting my boundaries, protecting my energy, trying to do what's best for me, right? And so you may become the villain in someone else's story. You may become the villain in someone else's life movie because you didn't act the way they expected you to act. And that is okay. It's okay as long as you are conscious enough to take a step back and say, hold on, did I treat them with respect? Did I treat them with kindness? Did I use my words for love? And did I speak life? Or was I just being an asshole, right? So I think that's how you can fact check, right? How you can really verify if you are a bad person when people are like, you're a bad person, you're a bad friend, you're this, you're that. Like, you're going to get so much karma because you're a terrible person. It's like, okay, maybe you're projecting. Maybe I'm not that bad of a person. Maybe I am checking in constantly with my angels, guides, and helpers and source to ensure that I am behaving and interacting with people from the highest form of integrity that I know how to act from, right? And this doesn't mean that you're perfect, and it doesn't mean that you'll always get it right, but it is being willing to admit when you're wrong. I think that's something I've gotten really good with my past friendships. I'm not afraid to say I was wrong. I'm not afraid to say I effed up. I'm not afraid to say I handled that poorly. I'm the type of friend where if we're having a conversation and it gets awkward and by the end of it we're like, what the furf? I will be that friend to call you back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I was projecting. Or, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Or, hey, I am that type of friend. I try to be that type of person because I understand that you cannot grow a lasting friendship. You can't have longevity if you're not willing to admit when you're wrong, or if you're not willing to apologize when it's necessary, if you're not willing to, communicate why you were upset about something. You have to be willing to communicate. So saying all this to say, again, plugging back into killing the people pleaser within you and how it's okay to disappoint people as long as you believe you are acting with an integrity and you are speaking your truth and you are trying to be authentic to yourself. Maybe it's just not your season to have certain people in your life, and that's okay. You should always wish them the best. Anyone who has ever been my friend who is not currently my friend now, I don't have ill will towards anybody, okay? I want the best for everybody. I want everyone to win. And I can be that way because I can be that way because I don't know, I don't get jealous anymore because I understand that we're all a mirror and reflection of each other. And so I feel like when you're jealous of somebody else, that's you saying that I could never have that, I could never be that. And that's not true. You can have and be whatever you want, always and forever, okay? Even if someone is a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, you don't have to be jealous of them. They probably, what do they say? Success leaves clues, right? So you never have to be jealous of anybody. And I should wrap this up because it's dragging on, but I'm saying all this to say, do I still have a fear of having friendships? Yes and no. I am open to having a friend. I really desire the emotional support that comes with having friends. And I think it's so important to have friends. I think it's so important to have people in your circle who, iron sharpens iron, who want the best for you and want the best for themselves and are always striving and trying to achieve their goals. And, that is so important, to surround yourself with the right people. It's so important. But at the same time, you cannot sacrifice your happiness. You cannot sacrifice yourself for the sake of trying to be the good guy in someone else's reality, or trying to be the good friend in someone else's world. Just be true to you. Just be who you are. Just try to live with integrity. And, if and when you have confrontation with your friends, communicate. Communication is so important. I can't stand somebody who has the audacity to be mad at you but won't explain to you why and doesn't see the value in I guess like fixing it. Or I just know I have been I don't want to say I've been burned, because I don't see it as being burned. And I think when people, we always go through seasons, and people are coming and going into your life always, constantly. And as you evolve and change, it will require new people to enter your life, and it will require old people to leave your life. Maybe the old people come back and maybe they don't, and you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with you. You have to be okay with standing alone. You have to be okay with being by yourself if that is the season that God has called you to be in, universe, source, whoever has called you to be in. It can be really scary to be isolated. It can be very scary to be isolated, especially when it feels like source is pulling people away from you to show you how strong that you can be on your own. But understand that sometimes you're not gonna feel strong on your own. And sometimes you do need people around you to help support you emotionally, be a shoulder to cry on, or someone to, check in on you, or just someone to listen to, right? And so, you just have to be mindful of who you keep in your circle. Be mindful of the energy that you feel when people are around you. And when it doesn't feel good, when it doesn't feel in alignment, be smart enough to pull yourself away and know when you have to step away from something. But also know when a relationship requires work, right? So it's not always being like, I don't care if you like me or not, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna do me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that's cool, but to maintain long-lasting relationships, there is a little give and take, right?